Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. And Andy, is that your phone, I guess?
It is. I'm going to mute.
Okay, thank you. All right, guys. So if you're joining for the first time, this is part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. We review one vendor or the solution. And for today, we have one of the hottest solution from the CRM community, which is HubSpot. So we are going to have a lot of fun discussing that. Before we do that, we are going to start with everybody's intros. I am going to start with my quick intro. Sam Gupta, principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent, vendor agnostic, ERP, CRM, digital transformation consulting firm. On that note, Andy, do you want to go next?
I would love to. As always, thank you so much for honoring me, for inviting me to these sessions. This one is going to be rather interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of audience interest into this one today. But anyways, I've been involved in ERP software for small to mid-sized manufacturers all my life. I've worked all over North America. I also have I'm the author of a book called How to Select Your ERP Without Losing Your Mind or Your Job. And thank you again, Sam.
Of course, Andy, any day. And HubSpot does have very passionate community. So, Andy, today, while our presentation, if I disappear, you kind of know what not to talk about during the presentation.
That's all good.
Shrestha, do you want to go next?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Hi, everyone. My name is Shrestha Dash, and I'm part of the marketing team at Elevate IQ. Excited to learn more about HubSpot today.
Amazing, guys. Thank you so much for being here. And if you're in the audience joining for the first time, make sure you guys post your questions, comments, stories, whatever experiences you might have. We generally like to utilize them as part of our reviews. So looking forward to reviewing them. On that note, I'm going to dig right in. Andy, you are familiar with it. And Shrestha, I guess you are familiar with probably HubSpot as well. So this is going to be a very interesting discussion. Obviously, HubSpot sort of has this undisputed authority in the CRM market. Salesforce, HubSpot, they go head to head. So it's always interesting, how these two solutions are laid out in the market. Obviously, we are going to touch on all of different layers that we generally touch with any solutions. So just to recap on how this presentation is laid out and what kind of sources that we generally utilize for our reviews. So our number one preference always is going to be financial statements. And HubSpot being a public company, we do have access to financial statements. So we are going to get a little bit more intel that we generally get just from the marketing hype. Obviously, from the marketing perspective, anybody can position in whatever way they want.
And they do.
And they do. Exactly. So that's where I guess financial statements, sometimes that could be very salesy as well. But people are a little conservative.
It's a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. And CFOs are writing that, right? So they are not marketers.
And they usually have skin in the game to make sure they're being honest.
Yeah, no, but I mean, there is a real threat as well. I mean, you're not supposed to overstate, overclaim.
That's
otherwise, the penalty is probably going to be jail, which does not happen.
That's free room and board, isn't it?
Exactly. Free food as well.
Yeah. What a deal.
Yeah. And no mosquitoes there, Andy. No mosquitoes, no bugs, no bad bugs, no problems there.
No.
Okay, so we have some more content sources that we generally utilize. These are going to be historical news stories. We go back in time and we go back as far as back as we can. We are looking for the entire story, the evolution, how they evolved as the product solution, as well as the vendor that does provide us the comprehensive perspective on any vendor. And then we look at the product roadmap documentation for this specific review. These are different things. There are certain other things that we generally include with other presentations depending upon the availability of the content and how much content that we can get from the public sources, but product roadmap, documentation, customer stories, Reddit threads, as well as user reviews. So those 5 or 6 that we have utilized for this review as well. Coming back to the overall positioning of HubSpot, where it is positioned. Obviously, if you ask any CRM vendors, they all are going to say they have everything in the world and they are good for any industries and any size of the customers in the world.
Yes, they will.
But they all are extremely beautiful and they are designed for a very specific purpose as well as a state. And if you use them in that specific state, they shine. Otherwise, they don't shine as much. So from the HubSpot perspective, HubSpot superpower is going to be in the whole content marketing game. Okay, they are sort of the pioneer of content marketing. That's why marketers absolutely love HubSpot. They don't necessarily care for the other pieces of the CRM world, even though that is going to be equally critical as well. Marketers are only worried about the upstream aspect of marketing, which is where HubSpot is really strong. Now, in certain industries, this is a deal breaker. You have to have this. And that's why in those industries, HubSpot is probably a deal breaker as well. But that is not to say that you probably need the same capabilities in other industries as well. And that's why we are seeing clear segmentation in the market. And that segmentation being your B2B versus B2C. For B2B, the content marketing matters a lot. And the reason for that is because the deal cycle is very long. You are going to have so many different touch points. You are going to require very different pieces of content, and people care for very specific piece of content depending upon their stage of customer journey. Now, if you talk about B2C, in B2C, you need to market, but you don't need to market as much because these are probably going to be repeat customers, loyal customers. They probably know your brand. They are coming to you, giving you the order. So the marketing stages are going to be different. The kind of content that you are going to send to them is going to be different. Frequency of emails that you are going to send is going to be different. In those spaces, in my mind, at least, the customer service matters a lot more than the content side of marketing, and that's why you have very clear segmentation. So HubSpot does not like to do everything in the world. They are really good at the industries, the patches where content marketing is going to be a good fit. Now, we have seen some solutions. For example, let's say if you look at Active Campaign, they are sort of all over the place. They are doing B2B, B2C. In some industries, that is going to be a factor as well, because some industries are B2B plus B2C. They want both. So in those cases, those solutions could be a great fit. But if you are looking for clearly defined segmentation, then you need to look at solutions such as your Klaviyo. They are going to be far more powerful for B2C. For B2B, it's going to be HubSpot, which has clear authority in the content marketing sort of industries. So 2 or 3 different pillars, I would say, from the HubSpot perspective. Number 1 is going to be marketing automation. Number 2 is going to be content-driven workflows. And number 3 is probably the full SMB suite. So this is going to be compared to your smaller solutions that you are going to find in the market. They are catering with just one aspect of marketing. They don't do everything. So HubSpot is a relatively complete suite. They are going to have all of the pillars such as your marketing hub, sales hub, service hub, content hub, operations hub, as well as commerce hub. So that's where, again, the majority of the leading solutions that we have in the market, they have all of these capabilities. In fact, they are sort of branding, similarly as well, just to remove the confusion, noise from the market. And that's why, HubSpot is doing the same as well. Now, my friends at Microsoft might differ with us, how they are marketing. But for the most part, this is what a CRM is from the pillar perspective. Now, overall, from the competing technologies perspective, so some of the newer technologies that we have reviewed now, so you have the categories such as your Folk or HEO of the world, and Folk and HEO. These are going to be slightly more collaboration-centric CRM. They are going to be sort of schema-less CRM, and they have a very different role to play. Again, this is a very emerging category, so we don't really have the right use cases where they have been used by very large brands. We just don't have that right now. But obviously, they are very promising. They are doing really well. They are very well funded. So we are super excited about those categories as well. And obviously, they are going to be a little bit of threat for your Salesforce, HubSpots of the world. But we'll find that out right now. They are still very, very, very young and not as well adopted. So something to watch for, but not to be worried just yet. And then you have some of the fluid data model as well. Smartsheet, Airtable, Monday.com, Notion, ClickUp. They are adopted a lot more, but their role is more in slightly more ad hoc use cases, project management centric use cases, not necessarily as much CRM, but they do have some overlap with the CRM categories too. Now, the real CRM, where you are going to see the real competition, which is going to be your HubSpot, Pipedrive, Salesforce, they are the real competition, for HubSpot for the most part. If you look at this more from the marketing automation lenses, then the actual competition is going to be ActiveCampaign, Marketo, Klaviyo, MailChimp, very small, Constant Contact, very small. They are doing just one thing. HubSpot has a lot more. From the CRM perspective, those four, HubSpot, Pipedrive, Salesforce, and Zoho, is probably going to be the right competition for them. So again, the reason why we touch on these solutions is, let's say if you're reviewing HubSpot, these are probably different solutions that you should be including as part of your evaluation, and that's why we are giving you this on the first slide itself. Now, overall, in the industries where they are really proven and do really well are probably going to be technology, SaaS, B2B marketing agencies. That's where HubSpot is really good. They do business in some other industries as well, but their scope either might be limited or they might struggle. HubSpot also has, some of these struggling stories. And I think HEO, when we reviewed them, they, they were really going after HubSpot because HubSpot does have a lot of failure stories. And those are the limitations that we are going to cover in the next few slides, where HubSpot is going to struggle. And sometimes, just because of that passion, HubSpot is kind of oversold. At times that might not be coming from corporate, but when you look at the field sales level, they are sometimes overselling just because they don't understand how difficult this might get. And that's where you have challenges with HubSpot. But overall, this is a beautiful solution.
Yeah, I've seen HubSpot oversold sometimes. Yeah. I mean, whenever you have a name brand product, there's always going to be a penchant to add value or perceive value with ones you've heard of before.
Exactly, and that comes from the passion,
and that might cause the companies to buy a more comprehensive system when they didn't need that much, and therefore there's a cost.
Overbuying is probably the right term. Overbuying.
That's perfect. Yeah.
And overbuying, and Andy, I'll bring one point, I guess, that is probably going to reinforce what you were trying to say. In general, whenever we have any communities where there is a tendency of overbuying, you will also see correlation of failure with that. That is very common. So for example, HubSpot, super passionate community. On social media, if you are going to talk anything negative about HubSpot, they are probably going to come after you. The same thing goes with Odoo. To some extent, Microsoft as well. They get very passionate. So these are some of the communities where people are super passionate because obviously there's no question that these solutions are good and you should be passionate, but don't oversell. That's all I'm trying to say here. So, okay, so moving on to this slide. So here, this is the comparison slide that we have been constructing. And again, if you're reviewing HubSpot, these are probably going to be the closest options that you might want to include as part of your evaluation. So obviously for HubSpot, it's probably going to be the Salesforce. They are definitely going to be compared by them because they too are two most leading solutions. But at the same time, you are also going to see scenarios where HubSpot and Salesforce are used together. Can you believe this? Even though they are rivals, but they are most frequently used together because Salesforce, even though they have their own marketing automation product, but it is not as tightly embedded as HubSpot. Okay, and HubSpot's CRM layer is not as strong, as Salesforce. So even though
there's a plus and minus,
exactly. So before they sort of develop their own capabilities, they used to go together. And it was all good. But now it's not as good because now they sort of have the half-baked other layer, which is just not as good. And that's why they are getting bad name out of it, to be completely honest. But overall, Salesforce is really strong at the CRM side of things. HubSpot is really strong at the marketing automation, content side of things. They are not as strong from the CRM perspective, the core CRM layer. So again, we'll touch on the specific limitations here. So overall, the strength from the HubSpot perspective, number one, the content-driven workflows. If you are going to be really, really heavy on content-driven workflows, that's where HubSpot really shines. Especially if you're looking for the complete traceability from your upstream marketing channels, which is going to your website and any sort of crazy scenarios, form to form interaction, anything that you need to do from the content perspective, that's where HubSpot is really strong. It's a consolidated platform combining so many different layers than just the siloed apps. And HubSpot compared to, for example, let's say if you're going to compare this with your Pipedrive, ActiveCampaign, obviously Salesforce and Marketo, they are probably slightly advanced solutions. So if you are going to compare with the smaller solutions, any of these the smaller ones that we have reviewed so far, they generally don't have as advanced capabilities on custom objects, customization. For example, HubSpot is probably going to have custom coded actions. Other solutions may not have as deep capabilities, or there might be limitations in terms of what you might be able to do. Sometimes those limitations may not be apparent right away. In fact, they might not even tell you because they are going to be embedded somewhere in the contract, and you just don't know how to read that and how that is going to fire back. So HubSpot is going to be slightly more customizable compared to Pipedrive, ActiveCampaign, but obviously your Salesforces of the world are the most customizable platforms out there. But then obviously because of that, you are going to have much higher consulting effort, etc. So sometimes people don't like that. HubSpot is going to be slightly user-friendly. So you get one thing: either you get user-friendliness and lower implementation fee, ease of implementation, or you want the enterprise capabilities, higher implementation fee, slightly harder to use. So you need to make a choice in terms of what you are looking for. You cannot get best of both. So here, the other advantages that we have, with HubSpot is they have their own native CMS. Now, HubSpot does get a lot of complaints for CMS as well. It's just not as strong as some of the open source CMS ecosystems that we have in the market. For example, people who are moving from WordPress, even though I would probably argue that HubSpot is far more powerful from the CMS perspective, but users generally complain that they don't like HubSpot CMS. Read some of their reviews on Reddit, on a lot of forums, and you would come to know what I'm talking about. But overall, I do like that marriage of CMS plus your CRM, just because their CMS has far more advanced capabilities. That's why sometimes it might come across as if they are not as user-friendly. So now even HubSpot is suffering from the same problem, by overcomplicating it for the enterprise scenarios. But at the same time, if you need those capabilities, then it's going to be harder to use. And then you would require a little bit of developer support, consulting help, etc. The other advantage that we have with HubSpot is HubSpot ecosystem is really big, and their API layer is far more powerful than your UI layer, which is sort of counterintuitive for a lot of folks. Generally, API layer is probably going to be behind UI for most enterprise systems, but with HubSpot, that is slightly different. So you can do a lot more from the API layer perspective, from the integration perspective, the limitations that you are going to have from the UI perspective, but that would require a third-party integration, third-party app, etc. But something to keep in mind that you have those capabilities. It's not that if UI is going to be limited, then you are sort of super constrained there, bottleneck there in terms of the capabilities. The cons from the HubSpot perspective is going to be the data model is very flat. So obviously, if you're looking for any sort of complicated B2B scenarios, a lot of custom development, you need to be careful. And that's where HubSpot really struggles. Some very basic limitations. And I don't know, and HubSpot is doing a lot of development, so this might change at any minute, but you don't have things such as, you can't even rename the deal object. And I think this is the problem that even ATU was calling out, that in some industries, you don't have deal. So why do I keep deal? Can you get rid of? Can you at least rename? No. So again, so
you mean the field name or the content of the field?
The object itself.
Oh, okay.
Like you gotta have deal. I mean, HubSpot is known for sales, and if you don't have deal and opportunity, they don't like it, I guess. So, so for industries, for example, let's say if you are going to be in the not-for-profit space, they don't have deals. They don't like to talk about opportunities. They are probably going to have moves, which is very similar to deal, but then they would like to call it move. Can you rename it? No. It's that difficult. So that's why I'm saying the customization, the number of layers. Again, HubSpot is working on that, and I don't know how difficult it is for them to be able to take care of some of these easy requirements. And that's where you have the newer data model, but they are going to have their own set of problems because now they are allowing you to delete the whole deal object. So, which is going to be very interesting from the data integrity perspective. But again, I don't know where that inflection point is, but right now HubSpot does have that limitation. Now, these CRM companies are going to argue that they have parent-child relationship, but the hierarchy that they are able to maintain, the kind of use cases they are able to accommodate as part of their data layer, they are really flat. That is really limited. So they don't necessarily have the real parent-child relationship, even though they are going to argue they are even going to call these relationships as parent-child, but those relationships are only association. That does not mimic the actual parent-child relationship in the real world. And once you get into those complicated use cases, where you need to implement a lot of customer-centric workflows, which are going to be very ERP-centric, and that's where you are going to get into the real issues that you won't be able to do even very simple, CRUD operation on a business object. And then it's going to really struggle. And that's why if you have straightforward sales process, you have straightforward marketing automation scenarios, no problem whatsoever with HubSpot. Anything more than that, you need to review carefully.
So wait, parent-child, you mean like when there's a corporate and has multiple locations?
So that is going to be the company hierarchy, which is completely different. That is one sort of scenario. The other parent-child relationship, that is very common with slightly more enterprise-centric systems is slightly more master detail relationship. That is number one. Salesforce has that, but even that is not sort of the parent-child relationship. So generally, the way parent-child relationship works, Andy, is you have the corporate account and you have the child account, right? And at the corporate account level, let's say you are maintaining some of the information fields, and now you want your child to inherit all of that. You want your child to override all of those informational pieces so that you don't have to maintain at two different places. If it gets updated at the parent, all of the children are going to inherit that information. This is what is called real world parent-child relationship in the world of programming. ERP companies generally have that. It's very, 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 very common to have parent-child relationships with 90% of the ERP software because they have far more complicated hierarchies that they need to maintain and develop. So you can do the real development on large majority of the ERP systems, unless you are talking about some sort of app. Then it's going to be difficult. But for the most part, the ERP systems do expose the full-blown development model. Again, that is not possible with 90% of the CRM systems, unless you are talking about Salesforce, Microsoft, etc. And that's why they are so difficult. Andy, did that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Of course. So here, HubSpot is going to be ideal fit, as I said, for content-driven B2B sort of SMB companies. If you are going to have B2C flavors, you are just not going to have as many integrations, workflow supported from the Shopify integration perspective, etc. So just don't utilize HubSpot for that. It might not be the best fit for those use cases. Now, coming to Salesforce is going to have its own strengths. Number one beauty of Salesforce is going to be data model. That's where the real play is from the Salesforce perspective. And that's why you will see a lot more advanced applications implemented on Salesforce platform. But that's what makes it difficult as well. Overall, from the implementation perspective, that increases your implementation cost. Sometimes that increases implementation adoption difficulty as well. I don't have anything else, from the Salesforce perspective, from the lenses of HubSpot. But overall, I guess this is going to be slightly more ad hoc use cases, enterprise use cases. That's where you should be using Salesforce. Pipedrive is going to be a relatively simpler platform. Pipedrive, in my mind, is similar to Salesforce, but much tinier. But then it does have some flavors of HubSpot as well. So in general, Pipedrive is going to be slightly better fit for the prescriptive sales and marketing processes, slightly more transactional, I would say, not necessarily as much as HubSpot overall from the content perspective, but you are just not going to have as much customization capabilities. Even with Pipedrive, it has slightly different flavors that we have touched in the dedicated session that we have already done for Pipedrive. So you might want to check that. We are not going to get into detail here in this session. We have done that for Salesforce as well, so you might want to check that. Now, coming to ActiveCampaign, again, I will be touching briefly. If you want more detail on ActiveCampaign, go and find ActiveCampaign Elevate IQ independent review, and you can find that on YouTube. So here, ActiveCampaign is going to be relevant for that B2B plus B2C and B2B to C business models, because it has flavors of B2B plus B2C. It's not going to be as good for B2B, as good for B2C, but if you are going to have both, then it is probably a better fit. As well as, if you're going to be sending a lot of emails, their email cost is not as much. So for those use cases as well, ActiveCampaign would be a great fit. Again, if you want more detail, check that session. Marketo is probably going to be very, similar as HubSpot. Marketo is known for marketing automation. It does not have the CRM component, but then Marketo is also targeted for slightly more B2C centric verticals, design oriented verticals. In those verticals, you are not going to have as heavy CRM. In fact, the only tool that companies generally use for CRM is probably going to be CDP, because those are very consumer centric. So Marketo is also used a lot with your Salesforces of the world, as well as Microsoft of the world, just for marketing automation. So again, if you want more details about Marketo, check those sessions out we have discussed. But overall, I guess this is probably going to be a better comparison, just because HubSpot is very similar to Marketo. Marketo is going to have a little bit legacy feel overall from their UI perspective. I'll keep going here. So now coming back to the financial statements of HubSpot. So we are going to touch on some of the points here. So here, overall from HubSpot, the way they define, and we are going to critique just a little bit. So they are saying we provide a customer platform that helps businesses connect and grow better. We deliver seamless connection for customer-facing teams with a unified platform that includes 3 layers: AI-powered engagement hubs, a smart customer relationship management product CRM, and a connected ecosystem supporting the customer platform with a marketplace of integration templates and expert partners, a community network, and an academy of educational content. So again, if you read this marketing verbiage, 90% of the CRMs are probably going to have very similar messaging. So what's unique about HubSpot? Again, go back to the content, point that I had mentioned. So again, they are not being very specific in terms of who they really are. But again, it could go either way. I'm not going to call out anything here. So here they are saying our engagement hubs include marketing hub, sales hub, service hub, operations hub, content management system hub, and commerce hub. So overall, from their hub perspective, marketing hub is very similar to any marketing automation layer that you are going to see with 90% of the CRM platforms. Sales hub is going to be the CRM aspect of the, and that's what is weaker, I would say, with HubSpot. Service hub is not as strong as Salesforce, even though they have a little bit of field service plus, customer service centric workflows. It's just not as strong. CMS is very unique. 90% of the CRM systems, they don't necessarily have CMS. HubSpot is unique in that aspect. They do include CMS. So that's where HubSpot's power is a little bit. And then you have the commerce hub. I don't know how successful that is. For the most part, this commerce is probably going to be relevant for companies that are selling content as the offering, not necessarily the real commerce. So they do have that. But again, the capabilities are probably going to be limited. This is not necessarily designed for the real commerce companies. Okay, so they have a little bit of messaging there, which I'm not going to touch on. They are saying we focus on selling to mid-market, business to business companies, and they are very clear in that they are right fit for B2B companies, which we define as companies that have between two and 2,000 employees. Now, I don't think this you are going to get from their sales team, I guess. If you talk to anybody from the HubSpot perspective, they are all going to say, "Hey, enterprises, we got you." Uh, but this is the core messaging. I think HubSpot is being very clear, at least in their financial statements, that their target market is 2 to 2,000 employees. And then they are saying we sell our customer platform on a subscription basis. Yes, that is right. In 2023, our revenue was $2.2 billion. Obviously, they are big. There's no question there. They incurred a net loss of $176 million. But again, that's very common with companies that are sort of growing. So yeah, there's nothing fundamentally wrong there. Now they are saying in 2021, agreement to acquire Hustle, a media company that produces a newsletter, podcast, and premium web search. So these are some of the stories aligned to their acquisition strategy. So in this case, in 2021, they acquired a company that focused on content, which is your newsletter, podcast, as well as premium research kind of content. So if you look at their journey from the acquisition perspective, you are going to feel a theme that they are going after every single asset that is going to enhance their capabilities more as the content-centered company. We'll be touching on all of that, but this is the first acquisition that they had done in 2021. In general, HubSpot is not the company that acquires a lot of companies, and that's why their platform is slightly better, I would say, from the user experience perspective, because the platform is designed from scratch, and that's why sometimes they might be slower in rolling out a different features, and that we saw with Pipedrive. Pipedrive was moving much ahead. In fact, HubSpot sort of caught up with them in terms of some of those capabilities. For example, CPQ. HubSpot just acquired a CPQ company, so they just got CPQ capabilities, and then I think they just got the data company as well. Pipedrive had done long back. So HubSpot is sort of catching up, but that is very common with the companies that sort of develop the platform from scratch as opposed to acquiring them. And
do you know what CPQ they purchased, they acquired?
We are going to touch on that. I mean,
okay.
I think we have a next story. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem, Andy. Thank you so much for bringing that. So here they are saying the move will give HubSpot more ways to offer its community of scaling companies valuable content across a broader range of topics. Again, it's all about content with them, and they have done this acquisition. One more story. This very similar timing. Yeah, but I mean, this is the $1 billion in recurring revenue that they have reached in 2021. And again, a lot of companies have done that in this space. So again, not a shock. And I'm actually surprised that HubSpot reached to $1 billion in 2021, but they sort of started in 2005. So 16 years, not bad. But companies such as, I believe, Klaviyo was doing 1 billion in ARR. Do you guys remember? Mm-hmm. Klaviyo, right? Klaviyo was doing, Braze was closer to that as well, I believe. And then ActiveCampaign is shooting for that. They are not there yet. That's my understanding. So we have one more story here. So they have reached this. So again, big company. Here they are saying the introduction of marketing context, a new pricing model that allows customers to only pay for the context they want to market to via email or ads. So again, they changed a little bit, from their pricing perspective. Again, HubSpot is very expensive overall. It does get very expensive. It starts with free. Sometimes people buy HubSpot because it's going to be free initially, but you have no idea how much price shock you are going to experience. And if we have time, then we'll be reviewing some of those reviews as well. So HubSpot in general is very tricky to work with, overall from the pricing perspective. So be super, super, super careful. Understand their tiers, the way they have architected. And by the way, that is changing on a daily basis. So it might change at any minute. Okay, so I don't have anything else here. I think this is the CMS Hub announcement. They launched in 2021, which we have already touched a little bit. So that's it on this one. Then we have one more story here coming from 2021. So this is the launch of Operations Hub, and Operations Hub is providing them far more capabilities. Number one, from the customization perspective, this is where they got these custom coded action, and I think this is all powered by Amazon Lambda. And I don't know when Amazon launched their custom coded action, but I think the whole idea of webhooks came in maybe 2015. Don't quote me on that, but it's fairly new technology, and that's why HubSpot is able to do all of that, and that's why customers absolutely love this, because a lot of times the kind of customizations that you are able to do in HubSpot, you don't necessarily need to have the whole development platform set up to be able to do this. You just need to know JavaScript, and you can probably manage. Again, it's very difficult. You will still probably require a developer, but easier than Salesforce, I would say. Some more comments here. They are saying enabling them to keep their business apps working in harmony without the need for third-party integration tools. Operations Hub syncs data between applications like Microsoft Dynamics and NetSuite bidirectionally. Okay, just don't read bidirectionally, because it's going to be a chaos. I mean, even though they are calling bidirectionally, it's never going to work. So just don't read that. Even though they are claiming that, you are going to have a lot of challenges. And again, depending upon your data, depending upon your process, depending upon the kind of data flows that you want to exchange, in general with HubSpot, it's probably going to be slightly easier. The reason for that is because their data model is not as tight, and that's why you have all of these data integrity issues even with HubSpot. But again, this is probably not going to work, even though they are claiming that. Okay, ensuring that customer data is always consistent and up to date, even as a company adds more tools to its tech stack. Again, that's not going to happen. It's a great sales pitch, but it's not going to work. Using HubSpot workflows, operations team can build custom automation actions using JavaScript and run those actions through Amazon Web Services, Lambda technology, creating efficiencies for internal teams. And that's the point that I just touched, that's how their custom coded actions are powered, which is a fairly new technology. Scale with confidence. When HubSpot customers add Operations Hub to the HubSpot CRM platform, they get increases to their existing limit on list reports and workflows, ensuring that their tech stack scales in line with their. So again, they are saying that if you are going to include the Operations Hub, they are going to make you look as if you are enterprise, and then you are going to get a lot more list reports and workflows. And generally what that means is that on the lower tiers, you are going to have a lot more restrictions on pretty much everything, which is going to be your list, number of reports that you can have, and number of workflows. So they are doing literally nickel and dime with every single functionality that you're going to have, and customers just don't appreciate that. Now you have Operations Hub is available in free starter and professional versions. So one more comment here. They are saying in 2021, they are saying the customer relationship management platform for scaling companies announced today the launch of CMS Hub Starter. So this is the previous announcement, I guess, right? The new tier of the company's existing web content management system that gives marketers and developers the tools they need. Great. I don't have anything new there. New features like site trees, CRM object, dynamic pages, and increased domain capacity in CMS Hub Enterprise. Again, they have a lot of different features, but I don't think their CMS is as robust. So do a little bit of research if you really want to switch to their CMS or not. Okay, so this is coming from 2021, and this is our friends at Gartner. And Gartner, if you look at their positioning, how they are positioning, so here they are saying HubSpot, the customer relationship management platform, for scaling companies today, announced that it has been positioned by Gartner as a leader in the Magic Quadrant for B2B marketing automation platform for its offering, and that is accurate. Gartner is right here. Okay, guys. So here they have positioned HubSpot not in the CRM category, but in the marketing automation category. We don't have access to CRM category, so we don't know where HubSpot is laid out, but this specific Magic Quadrant is for their marketing automation category. Obviously, no questions that HubSpot is probably going to be a leader, and that's why it's very far right. I mean, HubSpot, Salesforce, they are probably very close. So for the most part, I mean, they are going to have very similar offerings. Salesforce may be slightly ahead, but may not be. I mean, this is ability to execute, and this is completeness of vision. So Salesforce has completed the vision a little bit, but ability to execute is sort of HubSpot is ahead. So I mean, Salesforce does have sort of the SQL centric capabilities. The kind of security workflows you are going to have inside Salesforce are far richer. So I don't know which is going to be ahead. And again, based on these two variables, it's very hard to comment which one is going to be ahead. But they are very, 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 very close in general. Overall in their marketing automation capabilities. With HubSpot, you are going to get far more immersive experience. With Salesforce, you are going to get very disconnected experience between their marketing automation and their CRM. In fact, the website integration is going to be extremely, extremely tricky. With Salesforce, you will require investing a lot more money in general with Salesforce. Now, Adobe is there because of the what is that, Marketo product, and we were keeping them close as well. So Gartner is right here. Now, Microsoft is here as well, which is very interesting. And Microsoft might be here. And by the way, this is for 2024. So this must be because of their customer insights product. But if you look at the customer insights and HubSpot and Pardot, they don't sort of line up. So I don't know. I mean, Microsoft should not be here. Creatio is so far ahead in marketing automation. Interesting. Very interesting. Oracle, I can believe, because Oracle does have two different products, Brancho and Eloqua, right? Those two for B2B and B2C. So Oracle is very advanced in marketing automation. That's why Oracle is there. Makes sense. Zoho is a little behind, but Zoho would be a lot more behind in my mind. So which is probably the right positioning. Freshworks is here as well. Sugar CRM, is there as well, which is very interesting. Business Next, I don't know who they are. And Lead Squared is there as well. Lead Squared does have, very sound marketing automation capabilities. So again, very interesting quadrant. And I think Gartner is right here for the most part. As one of the only marketing automation platforms built on top of a CRM, Marketing Hub is designed to give customer access to all of their data and tools in one easy to use and powerful platform. And then they are saying with powerful new enterprise features like custom objects and multi-touch revenue attribution, HubSpot has the horsepower to keep up with even the most complex use cases. Okay, so guys, you definitely get the custom objects. Okay, you have credit for multi-touch revenue attribution as well. But please, don't say that most complex use cases, because you have no idea how complex these use cases get. So that's where I guess you might be crossing your line, that your customization are not going to be as good for the other slightly more, operational use cases. For that, it might not be the best. So again, this is slightly overstated, I would say. Platform can also be extended to meet each customer's unique needs. Nah, not really. Okay, so I'll keep going here. 2021, they are saying HubSpot announced today at Inbound 2021 the launch of HubSpot Payments. And this is very similar move as Shopify. Shopify started the trend of payments. HubSpot is launching that as well, because they are trying to pitch a lot more payment-driven offerings from the content perspective. This is giving power to companies like Elevate IQ and the ESS, right? These are going to be consulting companies. So let's say if you want to sell your content, then you could use these capabilities and sell. So that's where HubSpot is really good. This is not for the pure play e-commerce centered play, I would say. Then they are saying HubSpot Payments supports all major credit cards, ACH payments, ensuring that companies can enable the payment methods that work for them. Yes, but you are going to find very similar pitch with Shopify as well, but these two have very different focus. So make sure you pay attention there. To help customers to get up and running, HubSpot is also waiving fees on the first 50,000 of ACH transactions processed through HubSpot Payments each month. Now they are saying they are able to provide payment links, which is very similar capabilities as your QuickBooks. So they are saying a unique native URL that streamlines the payment process with fewer steps for sellers and buyers. Links work out of the box with deals, workflows, reporting, forms, and analytics. Payment links can be embedded on a website and shared in email, chat, or codes, making it easier for customers to conduct one-time sales and manage payments within HubSpot. Now, this is a great capability. I would say it is going to help in integrating with the website, email, etc. There is a real customer experience aspect there. NetSuite does very similar things as well, to be completely honest. But let's say if you want to align this with your ERP, your accounting software, there might be challenges there. So even though HubSpot is able to provide this more from the customer experience perspective, but this would be more of the Shopify play, not necessarily the actual payment play. And now depending upon your architecture, where you want to keep the payments, it could differ. But for the most part, this would be very channel specific play in my mind. But where you are going to get power is going to be in recurring payments. And this is for slightly more when you are going to have, let's say, SaaS subscriptions. And that's where they are really strong with SaaS, tech, media-centric companies. And let's say if they are doing the recurring payments, that's where HubSpot is going to be really powerful. So they are saying, which allow customers to sell memberships, set up retainers, take ongoing donations, and more. Recurring payments are also available as an object in the HubSpot CRM, giving customers the ability to customize their processes as needed. Now, they are sort of getting into this whole Zora play, which is designed for subscription-centric business model. But again, you can probably model basic products here.
What is that called, Sam? Zora?
Zora. Zura is the name of the product. They were always designed for subscription-centric business model.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We need to review them. Actually, they are super hot in the SaaS community for sure. I don't think we have reviewed them so far, right?
No, hadn't heard of them.
Yeah, they're really big. Before NetSuite, got that capability, and now even Sage Intacct probably has that capability as well, because those are some of the products that do really well in the SaaS space. Before that, everybody was using Zora because accommodating the CPQ processes in SaaS is very, very, very difficult. Okay, so some more comments here. Here we are saying Stripe, a HubSpot partner since 2018, and that's how they have white labeled these capabilities. So these payments are not necessarily coming from HubSpot, but you are going to get a little bit of immersive experience, inside HubSpot. And obviously, they are probably making a cut as well from this payment, and that's why they want to offer this. So a HubSpot partner since 2018 is helping power HubSpot payments. Stripe's best-in-class infrastructure is built natively with HubSpot CRMs, so fast-growing businesses can accept payments from their customers and provide a better buying experience. HubSpot Payments is currently in beta release and available for US customers only. One more comment here. HubSpot's latest improvements introduce more advanced customization and control for customers, including enhanced reporting capabilities and the new enterprise tier of its operations hub product. So in 2021, they were still working on that. New customer experience enhancing features like HubSpot payments, custom surveys, and customer portals. So those are some of the things that they were working on in 2021. Now, I'll keep going here unless you guys have any other comments. So here, they are saying HubSpot also announced the release of the custom behavioral event API, which allows Marketing Hub enterprise customers to track and report on key behavioral data. And then they are saying with association improvements now in public beta, HubSpot gives customers the flexibility to associate multiple companies to a single contact. They did not even have that, I guess. So in 2021, they got this, associate multiple companies to a single deal, and more so account admins can effectively keep up with more complex business models that change and evolve over time. So think of how minimal their capabilities were. They just got the one-to-one scenario between company and contact, in my mind, which is fairly basic in any given CRM, but they just didn't have that. Then they are saying with business units, and they launched a business unit capabilities as well. So this would be very similar to what you were talking about, Andy, between your headquarter and different, but in the marketing world, it's slightly different. because here you are looking at more from the branding perspective. So their alignment is going to be your website URL as opposed to a text ID in the ERP world. So different alignment. So they have that capability. The business units, Marketing Hub enterprise customers can manage multiple brands. And again, they talk about brand, and brand has a website. That's why they like to call or refer to them as brands. To ensure a more consistent and targeted experience for their audiences, the new add-on allows customers to run cross-sell and upsell campaigns to reach every segment of their audience, track contact interactions and communication preferences with each brand, and report on performance both across the business and specific brands. So again, I don't have much to add there. I'll keep going. HubSpot has also announced, and by the way, they had real limitation with their sandbox environment, and that is the comment this one is. So for example, let's say if you go to Salesforce was a real development environment, meaning you are going to have a lot more capabilities when you are promoting your code from your test environment to your production environment. HubSpot is just not as built from the infrastructure perspective. And there is also a very common problem that you are going to find with a lot of platforms that are just not mature for very complex customization. HubSpot was primarily an app. Now it is looking like a real CRM, but still, even today, they have very limited capabilities for the customization. So they are saying HubSpot has announced all new sandbox environment available to all enterprise customers that allows account admins and developers to test, experiment, and iterate before deploying changes to the broader organizations or customer base. But even today, and again, that could change. Okay, as of today, I don't think they have a real the whole promotion workflow built up. So for example, let's say if you want to promote any sort of changes from your test to your production, it's not just as easy as you are going to find with ERP system, Salesforce, Microsoft. They just don't have that built up. So they are working on that. And again, those features become very relevant, especially if you are going to do a lot of heavy customization. So again, HubSpot was never designed for very heavy customization, and that's why they don't provide these things. But again, I think they are sort of getting into the enterprise play now, and they are trying to provide as much as possible. These new features save precious time by alleviating the need for customers to spin up separate testing accounts and copy over their settings and definitions. Again, Salesforce always had that, from the get-go. The first of these improvements are to its Service Hub products, including custom surveys and the new customer portal, now in public beta, connected to a shared inbox. The new customer portal keeps ticket. And again, I think this might be a capability which might be very similar to your Front. And Front was the app in Shopify ecosystem, which customers used to use it as more of the shared inbox, where all of the agents could look up into that and sort of serve all of the customers. But now these guys are launching that as well, connected to a shared inbox. A new customer portal keeps ticket conversations going between customers and reps, offer access to a company's knowledge base, and can be customized to create an optimal customer experience. Again, very interesting capabilities, but for the most part, if companies are looking for slightly more advanced customer service tool, for the most part, most companies are probably going to use Zendesk, because here the integration does not matter as much. And the kind of integration that Zendesk plus HubSpot is going to have, it's probably going to be okay. It does not require as much data model dependency. So this is not going to be ERP-like integration, and that's why it works. So that's why companies use sort of the best of breed products here. Okay, some more comments here. So they are saying HubSpot Ventures formally launched in 2018 as a 30 million fund aimed at providing startups. And these are different startups that they are funding as well. So their fund is just 30 million. I think Salesforce has a lot more. I think Salesforce is probably investing billions and billions of dollars right now. And they have, and this is obviously based on where they are investing. Their hope is going to be that they can acquire a lot of these companies, and they are trying to learn in terms of what these companies are trying to do. And if you look at the trend of which companies they are trying to invest in, for the most part, they are going to be very content centric. So here they have Clary, they have Descript, they have Zentral, they have Goldcast, and they have Circle. And they are saying that, okay, I am investing from your revenue operations to ERP systems. There are some ERP systems, but they are not really ERP systems. Even though they are claiming that they are ERP systems, they are not. commitment to customer-first B2B software companies that recognize the power of the HubSpot CRM platform and are dedicated to helping further expand its value with integrations and other partnerships. Obviously, the kind of ecosystem that they are going to create, that's where you have power from HubSpot perspective as well as from Salesforce perspective. So Clary is the AI-powered insights. Everybody is investing in AI in some capacity. These guys are doing it as well. Descript is a video editing platform. Again, it has nothing to do with the core CRM capabilities, but they are investing in a lot of content-centric capabilities, and that's their secret sauce. Central ERP for retail, it's not ERP. It's kind of an ERP, but it's in the HubSpot ecosystem. It's going to be very similar offering as Rootstock, but Rootstock is far more mature, advanced. It's a real ERP. Even though there are challenges from the data model perspective and Salesforce ecosystem, HubSpot is probably going to have a lot more challenges in general. So it's going to be very interesting to develop an ERP system on HubSpot. Goldcast is the video and events. Makes perfect sense, because they are in the content-centric spaces. And then Circle is the community platform. Salesforce was doing a lot of community work. So obviously HubSpot is trying to catch up with them, in terms of capabilities. So I think we are going to stop here. I don't think we'll be able to cover everything today. And we'll come back probably after a few years and we'll cover the rest of the slides. But for now, we have to stop right now. Any comments?
I was already fairly familiar with HubSpot in a number of scenarios with clients of mine and such, but it was really great to crystallize the strengths compared to something like Salesforce. I always knew HubSpot promoted their CRM capabilities, and of course Salesforce promoted their marketing automation capabilities, but I wondered where the overlap would be, and it's a lot more clear now, that's for sure.
Yeah, glad that it's clear. Andy, any more follow-ups there?
No. I mean, going back to our comment about overbuying, I found that often with, like, I deal with manufacturers. So I found that often with manufacturers because commonly a manufacturer's CRM capabilities is not as strong as a wholesale distributor or a retail environment. And so therefore the HubSpot system, commonly they'll want to, when they're putting in a new ERP, they'll want to replace HubSpot because they find it to be too expensive for what they need.
Exactly. And again, if you're going to have those content-centric scenarios, and manufacturers are not necessarily heavy on those, they just don't have that.
No,
just
not usually.
Get an order, process that.
It depends. Always depends, but yeah, not usually.
Rare. They don't have to work as hard for sales.
They still do. It's a different kind of working, though. Different kind of effort.
Yeah. Okay. Shrestha, do you have anything to add?
No, I think you guys have covered everything, so I don't have.
Okay, amazing, guys. If you guys don't have any other follow-ups, comments, that's it for today. If you joined for the first time, this was part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you guys are going to be here in the new year because we are not going to have any more sessions this year. So happy holidays and happy new year.
Happy holidays to you, Sam and Shrestha. And again, Sam, I'm so honored that you invite me to participate.
And we are blessed to have you, Andy. Thank you so much for your help for the whole year.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah.